trails to hike, state program, state parks. You can find that all on our Tonganoxie website. We have our 2 state travel information centers, one in Goodland, Kansas, and one in Belle Plaine, Kansas, where visitors can stop and get information about where to visit when they're in Kansas. And we also are unveiling our new mobile visitor center, which will travel all throughout Kansas, currently at the state fair. It'll go to the Nebraska State Fair, different surrounding state fairs, different shows. And so it's a great way to kind of get the word out, once again, for people to explore our state. We also have the Kansas Byways programs, which covers the 12 scenic and historic byways in Kansas. And so Lisa Hecker, my colleague, she runs that program if you have any questions about that. Of course, the agritourism program, which we're going to talk a lot in depth today. And we also have our grants programs. We have multiple grants through our office, and I'll cover those later on. And then we have the tourism signage program to help mark tourist sites throughout Kansas. And then we also have 2 newest programs, the Sunflower Summer Program, which is a fantastic program we ran all summer, where students who were in Kansas got into over 290 different locations in the state for free with their guardian. So you could visit each of the sites one time for free. So it's kind of an initiative to help Kansans fall back in love with Kansas. And then the last program, Love Kansas, is our very new program, where different communities are helping to get boomerangs who once lived in Kansas and moved away to get them to come back to the state. So that program really showcases the great things about the state and why people should move back. Any questions about those? A very high level brief overview, but if you have any questions sparked by that, let me know. So the agritourism program came about in 2004 when the Kansas Agritourism Promotion Act was signed. And the purpose of this act was to help promote rural tourism and also diversify farms that were struggling during in the 80s. There was a really hard struggle. There was a drought. And so farms were looking for other ways to build income. And so that's when a group of producers came together and pushed that this act be signed into law. And so when that was signed into law, it created 2 things. First, the registration process of registering agritourism locations through the state. And then second, registered businesses now get a layer of limited liability protection. So when visitors come onto their farm, they're protected. And so I'll talk more about this. It gets confused a lot with a insurance policy. It's not an insurance policy, but it's written into state statute. If you have the proper measures, you are protected. And then one thing I always like to point out, the agritourism program is not a regulated program. And so we still want all businesses to work with your county and make sure that you have the local permits and ordinances required. So when the act was signed into law in 2004, they kind of came up with a very broad definition of what agritourism is. The more I work in this position, agritourism is so diverse and everybody comes up with new things every day. I'm amazed. And so they did this on purpose to create this very broad definition to be very inclusive of what agritourism was. And so that anybody who was willing to have the public come out and experience some form of agriculture, they wanted to make sure that they would fall under this umbrella. And so a lot of times we'll have producers ask if there are costs associated with a membership fee. We do not have a membership fee. There's no cost to be registered with the state. The only fee that producers will accrue when they sign up is you have to buy proper signage that goes back to the liability. And so I'll cover that a little bit, but that's about a $40 fee associated with the program. And then once a business is registered, you are registered for 5 years. After 5 years, we just ask that you re-register your business. That way we can have all your information up to date. If you've added things, we can make sure that that shows up on our websites. So I talked about the different types of agritourism, how the definition was very broad. So this is a small list of potential versions of agritourism that we have in the state. Some of our most popular ones are pumpkin patches, Christmas tree farms, our vineyards and wineries. Out west, there's a lot of hunting and hunting lodges that people partake in. During this time of the year, sunflower fields are really big, and that we are the sunflower state, so everybody comes to Kansas to experience those. So we have over 425 registered agritourism businesses in Kansas. The majority of them are in the eastern half of the state. So there's a ton to do around this area. I'm going to go a little more in depth about each of the benefits of registering with the state. And the first one being that limited liability protection that comes with being a registered member. There are two requirements to receiving the limited liability. One, you must have a current registration status with the state. So if you are registered for 5 years and you forget to renew your registration, then you would no longer be under that limited liability protection. And so it's important to keep up with where you are in that 5 years. And then also to post the appropriate signage. And so these are what the signs will look like, if you may have seen them out and about. This one came from the Kansas Forest Council. You can also have them made yourself as long as you follow the regulations set forth in the statute. And these run around $40 to $50. I believe they in the past have only had metal versions. Now they have plastic versions, but I think are a little cheaper. So the limited liability protection limits for injury or death to participants in registered agritourism activities. Like I had mentioned, this is not an insurance policy. It's just an added layer of protection for the producers. And it does not protect against injuries resulting from inherent risks. So things you may have known about but didn't take care of, it does not protect those. And then we also still strongly encourage all producers who are allowing the public onto their land to still carry some type of insurance. Other things that businesses can do to help protect themselves is waivers, avoid negligence, know the condition of your land and animals, and then also make sure if you have high school, a lot of our agritourism business high schoolers out during like the pumpkin patch season to help make sure that they know the rules and keeping everybody safe. And then of course carry insurance, and then always helps to consult with an attorney if you have any questions. The second benefit of being a registered agritourism producer is you get free marketing at the state level. And so when you register with us, you get a free listing on our website, and this is what the format would look like. And so you'll have your name, and then we connect it back to, if you have a website, it'll automatically connect to your website. If you have social media, it'll connect back to that. And then it will have your location and contact information for any visitor who is looking for some type of an experience. And if they find your listing, they know how to contact you. And then also, any producer who's hosting an event, such as like a farm to table meal, a concert, a fall festival, and they can post those on our website for free under the events page. And the events page is one of the most visited pages on our website. People want to know what's going on when they visit or just in their local area. Other marketing opportunities that we have through our office are via our social media pages. Kansas Agritourism has its own Facebook page, and then Kansas Tourism as a whole has a Facebook page. So if you have big events going on or big community events, if you just let us know, to post on the agritourism page is free. And then I believe there's a small fee to get posted on the Kansas Tourism Facebook page. And all that information can be found on our website. We also do blogs. So sometimes ourselves will write blogs if we have a fun idea. I've done one about the seasons in agritourism. So visiting pumpkin patches, lavender farms, country stays. And so I've done those before. We also have other travel writers who will come visit and love it so much they'll write their own blogs. And so we'll put those on our website as well. And then most of those are highlighted on our social media as well. We also do FAM trips, which are also known as familiarization trips. These are really cool. We will pay social or travel writers or influencers to come experience Kansas and then post about it on their different followings. And so this year is the 20th year of the Agritourism program. And so we are in the beginning of October doing a full agritourism fam trip in Northeast Kansas, where we're going to stay at registered agritourism places. We're going to eat on, I think almost all of our meals are going to be at different farm to table locations, and then also do fun things. I think we're going to do goat yoga. We're going to do soap making with goat's milk. Go to a winery, ride horses. So it's going to be 4 days full of just agritourism. So we're super excited for that new venture. We also do broadcast media outlets. So Colby Sharples-Terry is our PR manager. And so she has 2 different partnerships, one with KSNT, where she does a Good Day Kansas segment once a month all over Kansas. And so a lot of times I'll partner with her if we have a new or upcoming agritourism business, and that's really exciting. I will say, hey, let's go film a piece out at wherever that may be. So she'll work with me on that. And then she also does a segment on WIPW called On the Road into the Stars. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So yeah, so she does a vlogger style where she goes all over Kansas, films it herself, and they air it, I think, once a week. And so we're actually going out west in 2 weeks to go film a segment for that. Yeah.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
Is there 3 large military bases in the state of Kansas that's most relevant to us as Fort Level? Most of those military posts have a welcome day for individuals that are first coming on, and it's normally in August, just to allow for school kids to maintain a standard school year. Have you contacted or thought of contacting any of the military posts to try to be part of that welcoming program?
I have not. Maybe our bigger Kansas tourism works with them, and then I'm not familiar with that, but I have not heard of that.
It's if you leave us our information, we actually have one of our members that actually sets up a table at Fort Leavenworth that does that. But that may be an idea for McConnell Air Force Base in Wichita, as well as Fort Riley, to get folks that come here from around the country and around the world to partake in Kansas agricultural tourism.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, for media outlets, do you do anything with the PBS stations in Kansas?
Not yet. I think in the past we've done certain shows on PBS have asked us to come speak, so we have done that, but we don't have any regular contract with PBS.
Okay.
Any other questions? Awesome. So the last opportunity for marketing is through our travel guide, like I talked about earlier. It's a very inexpensive fee. I think if you do the early bird special, it's $80 to get a listing in that travel guide, and there are thousands that go out. So I highly encourage communities to do it. If you can't afford it as an individual business, to encourage your communities to get listed in the travel guide. So the last benefit of registering with the program is getting different education opportunities, resources, and networking. So travelks.com is our website. On there, we have an industry side of the website that you can get to through the top tab. We'll have an industry tab. And that's where you can find all kinds of information about our grants, information about upcoming events. And so it's super helpful to know that side of the website. And so that's a great resource to utilize in different programs that we offer as well through our office. Each month, I send out a monthly newsletter to all of our producers. And so that'll have information about upcoming events. If we have any different collaborations going on at that time, I'll put information in there, and then any grants, whether from our office or ones that I've heard about that would be beneficial to producers, I'll put that in the newsletter as well. And then also we have the collaborative partners. And so over the years since I've been in this position, we've identified a few partners that have been super beneficial to producers, and we kind of work hand in hand. One of those is the From the Land of Kansas program, and that's through Department of Ag. And so they help to promote anything made or produced in Kansas. And so they have a Made in Kansas sticker, which with their program, it'll have that sticker on it. And when it's in stores, people like to buy local. And so they're more likely to buy that and to have that Made in Kansas sticker. They also do things like at the state fair, they'll sell your products. At the state fairs, they'll do honeys, popcorns, all kinds of foods. They will sell those for you. And then also you can list them on their website and sell through their website. So that's a great program for producers who have actual products. And then also we've worked really closely with K-State through a few different initiatives. The first one is we have realized that producers are really great at the experience in growing things and raising things. But when it comes to marketing what they have, they're very humble and they don't always get the information out. And so after realizing that, we created an initiative with K-State, the Ag Communications course. So the producers will partner with the students, and the students will create real marketing materials that the producers can use. And then the students get the real world experience of designing and making those marketing materials. And so that's one of the initiatives. The second one we've been working on is they've recently applied for a global feed seed grant and they won it. And so now we have funding to provide producers to get resources such as they have a Center for Rural Enterprise Engagement, which helps with marketing online. And so they will waive the fee to be a part of that program. And it's super, super beneficial. I actually sat through it last year just to see what it was like. And so we have that for producers this year. They can also work with the business department at K-State to work on their business plan. And then there is a micro course that they will cover the fee for as well for producers to take to really kind of wrap up that whole business and marketing plan. And then also we have different grant funding opportunities. The first two are ones that we have annually through our office, the Attraction Development Grant. We have $1 million to give away every year, which is fantastic. And this is a 60-40 matching grant. And this grant can be used to help build any new or improve existing tourist attractions. So like if you have a historical building that you want to preserve, you can do that. If you want to bring an exhibit to a historical society, you can do that. As far as agritourism realm, we've had a winery build out by Dora, build a frisbee golf course through their vineyard. So that funding was used for that. So this grant is very large. You can, I think it's up to, I'm gonna say no, we've given bigger than that. I think anywhere from like $240,000 to I think maybe $15,000. So it's a wide range of what can be granted for that. And then it's currently open right now and it closes October 1st. So if you have any projects you can think of, and like I said, that one's annual. So if you don't get in this round.
And that's a tab on the website?
Yes, yes. So if you go to the industry tab at the top, and then it'll be under the grants programs. Then we have our marketing grant. It's a bit smaller. It's $100,000 every year that's given away. It's also a 60-40 matching grant. And it can be used for promoting communities. It can be used for promoting a new event, anything marketing. So kind of give you an idea, Leavenworth, I believe it was, they are doing grass bison throughout the city, kind of like if you know Lynchburg, they have the dollop horses all throughout the community that painted. So Leavenworth, you got to say it, use their funding to kind of reproduce that, but with bison. We've had for-profit businesses use it to create marketing materials to market a new event that they're having on site. I believe Tanganyika and Goddard has used it to, they had Christmas lights at the zoo. And so they used that marketing money to promote that. And so any new initiatives to help bring people, inform people, radio ads, TV ads, and you can use that for the marketing grants. And the third one, we just finished this year. It was the first time we've ever done it. It was the barn grant, which stands for Barn Adaptation and Restoration Needs Grant. So this one was a bit smaller. We're hoping if it goes well, we can increase this in years to follow. But it's $100,000. You could give max $25,000 to help restore old barns that would be utilized for agritourism purposes. And so we are announcing those next Monday. So those will be on the website. If you want to see what cool projects are going to be happening through the funds through the grants. Yeah.
And you may have said this, but are those grants for fiscal year tops, like 1 million total for the year? So
Yes.
competitive grants would get chunks of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so the marketing grant, sometimes we'll run that twice in a fiscal year. If we don't give away the full 100,000, we'll do it again. So yeah, and then the tract development grant, I believe we do have a spring and a fall. So 500,000 each round is given out. Awesome. So yeah.
Got another one for you,
Okay.
sorry. Don't need to hog the floor here. On the first weekend of October, it kind of grieves me a little bit being from Leavenworth County because Douglas County actually sponsors it. They had the Caw Valley Tour of Farms. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Are you guys going to be around for that?
The acts actually are a fam trip. So I'll be out traveling all over Kansas.
Okay.
But I have gone to it, and we do promote it. So usually they'll send us our information we put on our social media page.
How do you work, or do you, with schools to promote field trips to these different
So
wonderful places?
that's a very good question. That's something we've tried to identify businesses that provide field trip opportunities on the back end of our website. So if anybody calls, we have that list available. But we haven't necessarily reached out directly because we cover the whole state. We try to give that to the local communities to kind of work with your DMO or your CBDs so that they can help spread that word.
Similar question that was someone sent in before today. It was online, but are there any organizations that actually go into the schools to help the children understand where food is coming from?
So there is Ag in the Classroom, and that's through the Department of Ag who runs that program, but they specifically come up with different itineraries that focus specifically on ag and learning where your food comes from.
Go ahead, man.
Your target audience
Um,
is very, very broad. So how do you whittle that down to manageable?
So in my position, I gotta have two audiences. So one is working to identify the producers who are already registered and get them involved. And just learn about their operations so I can help promote them. And then on the other side, the consumer side, since it is just me in this position, I rely a lot on Kansas tourism as a whole to help with the promotion. So we do a lot on Facebook to kind of meet that middle range. But then we also, Kansas tourism as a whole has really gradually increased their marketing. So a few years ago, we heavily just did it focused on residents within Kansas to really raise morale. And then in recent years, we've really focused on bordering states. And this last year, we kind of went full-fledged with Vacation in Kansas to really just get that in people's minds that Kansas is a destination place to come to. We may not have the mountains, but we have really fun places to visit.
Do you have an estimate on the number of operations that should be into the agritourism registration list but aren't?
Yeah, so we have, I would say, a good chunk of registered businesses are in eastern Kansas, but western Kansas is definitely the agricultural focused part of the state. And so I really wish some of those more traditional producers would get involved to really help share the story. Except I think once you get out there, everybody is either used to it and doesn't, people want to come visit, or there is a difference between producing and also being an agritourism location and being inviting and being able to talk to people. So agritourism is not always for everybody, but we have definitely tried to work more out west to encourage people to diversify their entities by adding agritourism, and that people really want to see wheat harvest. They want to be a part of feeding the livestock in the morning and going to those food ranches. So we're working on getting the West more involved. But I don't have an idea of how many there would be. Yeah.
Could you tell me what year or how far back the term or concept agritourism was started? Or maybe a better question would be, when did we first see any kind of legislation with the word agritourism?
So Kansas was definitely one of the 4 leading states to getting agritourism kind of established. I'm a part of the National Agritourism Organization. Every year we have an annual conference that has probably 900 attendees. And it's a mixture of producers and also people like myself and state positions and education positions. And so when I first started going to that, I was amazed. You hear all the stories and where states are, and a lot of them are still trying to get this legislation passed. And so it's great to see that Kansas is one of the leading ones. I feel like, and don't quote me on this, but I think agritourism has been around since the 80s when the farm crisis happened and people realized that they had to diversify their farms in order to stay afloat.
Is there a specific statute that addresses it?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
And I apologize,
No.
I got hit with road closures from here in Leavenworth.
So the statute KSA 32.
But we didn't see any legislation in the 80s.
No, it just, I can't say for certain which state was the first one to pass this, but I know we were one of the first.
What do you think, like 10 years ago?
So ours was 20 years ago, 2004.
Where you started to see some legislation with the term
Yes.
agritourism?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen the travel guide, but I'm wondering if in that they post the cost of what it is to take advantage of it, of the opportunity.
Like for visitors,
Uh-huh.
so they know what it costs to come.
Right.
So essentially, whoever posts the listing or pays for the listing, you get to say what you want in the listing. So if an individual business bought a listing, they could say entry fees $15, free for children under a certain age. So they get to determine what those listings.
Because to me, that would be helpful if I were driving across the state of Kansas.
Yeah.
Going to Colorado to visit great grandkids, whatever,
Yeah.
to have an idea of what the cost would be.
Mhm. And so I think to most of I know for sure during the sunflower summer program this summer, when everything was free for school-age children, we made sure that they updated their listing and their website to specifically state what the entry fee was if you were not participating in the program. So people knew from out of state if it was $12, $30, whatever it may be. So we did really encourage that this summer.
It's helpful.
And I apologize again, I was late and you covered this. So where does one go to determine your eligibility for?
Yes, so you will just, on our website, on the industry side of our website, you can find a registration form. It's very simple to fill out, but essentially the main things, committee reviews those registration forms, but the main thing we're looking for is one that a physical agritourism activity, agriculture activity for visitors to participate in. So, for example, wineries, if it's just a tasting room, we're not able to register that. But if you have an actual vineyard where people can walk through the vines, pick the grapes, and then go taste, that we can register. So we're really looking for that actual activity that people can participate in. So we also, a lot of people have farm stores on their farm for people to come buy produce. We can't register that, but if you allow them to come pick the corn or pick the apples, then we can register that. And so that's one thing. And then the second thing is that you're promoting yourself via website or social media page, so visitors can find you. I think a lot of times too, producers are like, we're here, we're open. And then you have someone from California come and they're like, I don't know if I want to go on that farm. They don't have a website, I don't feel welcome. And so it's very important to have that customer facing website or social media where they know that they're allowed to come out and what activities they can do when they're there.
I saw the list up there of who you support and don't support. And one thing I noticed wasn't mentioned was the making of alcoholic beverages. Distilled.
Yes, we don't have any breweries or distilleries registered. In order to be registered, they would have to grow the hops on site. And so we don't have very many producers who grow hops in Kansas that I know of, that actually serve the alcohol on the site.
Now, is that in the KSA? Is that why the statute says?
Yes, yeah.
Could you say- Just saying. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point because that sort of brewing culture is pretty
Right.
big there.
And as a whole, Kansas Tourism absolutely promotes those, and we have them on the tourism the same website, they're just not under the registered agritourism portion. So we'll still market and definitely visit those and bring travel writers to those, if they're just not able to register within the program.
Somewhat related, does your office get involved with larger projects like Star Bond level? Because, I mean, regionally here, I mean, this place could be an awesome, like Sonoma Valley is what I've heard. Because pre-prohibition, we had hundreds of.
Yeah, we were the top producer of wine.
Yeah, so for a larger scale idea of these folks get together, is that something that's possible? I mean, if someone organized it like that and wanted to grow new vineyards and businesses, but do it as sort of a comprehensive county project?
That's a very good question. I know my director has been involved with some of the Star Bonds. It's not something that's ever been brought to my level of a position, but not to say that it couldn't. Definitely worth looking into.
Are there any disadvantages for an operation to become a registered agritourism?
That's a very good question. So, the one thing I think I have heard the most from producers is when you're on the website, if you don't specifically state appointment only, people show up. And so a lot of the times too, being in agritourism, you usually live where the tourism is happening. And so sometimes I've heard a lot of producers state, even though my sign says we're closed, people will still walk around looking for things. And so I always tell them in your listing, which they get to choose the text and all of that, to specifically state by appointment only and list your phone number so they can reach you. But I can't say for certain that it won't stop them. People will be people.
The hunting and lodge one is, I don't know if I'd call it agritourism, but I'm thinking, what would we have in this area that might be similar? And, you know, like we would have hunting and stuff like that too. But I'm thinking like if someone had a large parcel of land, maybe it's wooded and you can do some hiking through there. Maybe they have a big pond there and people could fish there or camp, something like that. Is that something that would qualify for like agritourism?
We
or?
do have some of those
Okay.
listed. There's a great example of that is Toad Strangler Farms out in Rossville, Kansas. He's a producer who had private land. He created trail systems that he wanted the public to come join. And so what he did to incorporate agritourism is on either side, you can see crops. There was a soybean field on one side, and then there was a corn field on the other with a ravine that went through the middle. And so he posted signs that explained what the crops were, how they raised them, why they were important. So as people walked along those trails, they could learn about agriculture. And so that's one way to incorporate the hiking, the fishing, with the agriculture component.
We have some goats out there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of reaching here, but, you know, people somewhat have to think outside the box.
Yeah,
It's not necessarily you have to have row crops.
no, no. And a lot of agritourism, I've learned producers in agritourism are the most innovative people that I've come to find. What they pair with normal day, like the goat yoga, always cracks me up. They're just so thoughtful and they come up with the greatest things.
Mhm. I think the key is you're getting people outside, enjoying the
Yeah.
outdoors, out away from the city.
Absolutely. People just want to, and COVID really helped
Mhm.
agritourism. People wanted to be outside of the city.
Yeah.
And so kind of there was definitely a burst in the last few years where it's definitely gained momentum. And we're really trying to get people just to realize what agritourism is. A lot of people know what a pumpkin patch is, but they don't know it's associated with agritourism. So then they're not looking for it. So we're really trying to push the term agritourism.
Did you say there were no vineyards or wineries?
Oh, no, we have a ton of vineyards and
Okay, it's
wineries,
a
yeah.
microbrewery.
Yeah, we just don't have any breweries or
Okay.
distilleries.
I had a question kind of about biosecurity for a producer. How does that kind of enter into all this stuff where you got a bunch of strange people showing up at your property, you don't know what they've been, anything, illnesses they have, or I mean, anything about it?
Yeah, so that's definitely handled, we let the producer handle that at their level and their level of comfortability. So we've had producers where we've gone out and they've sent out a questionnaire ahead of time to ask if you'd been at any other farms in the last 30 days, if you were showing any certain symptoms. And so if you were, then they would ask you to reschedule your visit. And so we have different operations at different levels. And so it's definitely up to the producer to kind of determine what that looks like. But you're absolutely allowed to make your own parameters around when people can visit, how they visit. To make sure that at the end of the day, if it is an actual working farm, it gets to continue with that.
But if I go through the registration process and have additional questions about eligibility, I'm representing an organization that's kind of weird. It's pseudo-governmental and also a C37 social organization. And so not exactly sure how that would work.
Yeah, no, if you have any questions at any point in time, I can give you my business card
Okay, thank
before we leave.
you.
But it's not a hard application. It mainly asks about the activities that you provide, and how you're marketing those activities. We don't care if you have an EIN number you're associated with,
Right.
as long as you provide that tourism aspect of it. We don't want to know how much money you make.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Enjoyed your presentation.
I want to, since Microsoft's sure you might want to mention this briefing is available on our Facebook page and the RLI page as well.
So we will post the presentation on our Facebook page. Right?
They can.
And the RLI page. Good.
And the RLI Facebook page.
The Facebook page being the Tonganoxie Public Library Facebook page? or
No, rural level page.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stop that. Thank you all for joining online.
Hey, sure. just for the notes, how many people signed up for, I don't know, how many people,
Um, one,
and I don't think we want to count Howie, but we can,
four, four-ish.
only four-ish,
Mhm.
okay.
Something like that. Okay, just for the procedural thing, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Okay, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed, the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
So much for our monthly meeting.
Thanks for coming.
No.